I liked him, Josh, so much. Are you familiar with his music?
I felt when I went and dug in, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy.
Then you remember
from that thing.
Yes,
Gayle King, by the way, good enough to join me live here on set. We're live.
Live and in color. Yeah. Yes, here we are.
It seemed reinvention seems almost a tough mantle to place on such a young guy's back.
And he admits that too. Listen, can you imagine you're a student in college and you blow up? He said, I was traveling all around the world, stuff that I'd read about, Australia, England, Europe, and everybody's screaming your name and knows your songs. And he said, and then you start believing all the stuff about yourself. And then, you know, I love that he calls it his coal period. It was very humbling for him. And I think he had a hard time adjusting to fame. So he took some time off. He did a lot of self-reflection. And now he's back because he's an excellent writer. He's an excellent writer, and I like his voice very much. So I think he's in a much better place.
It's, first of all, nobody should have fame thrust upon them, perhaps as a college kid.
When you're 20-something,
But, you know, and he went to Duke.
Yeah.
He's a smart kid.
Yeah.
And it
very
must
smart.
be very, I mean, that.
And he finished too, Josh.
And which is great.
Even with all the fame, he's finished.
To be compared to Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Who just won a Nobel Prize for literature, even though
they're like, where are you, Bob?
Hey, Bob.
Are you coming?
Here's our number.
I know, that's going to be interesting to see how that turns out.
I mean, that's quite a thing.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that he essentially learned the piano.
Yep.
Learned the guitar.
In the last 2 years.
And is that good with them? How does he appreciate his own artistry?
Well, he says, listen, I work really hard at what I do. Yeah. I work really hard, and he's dedicated, and he loves what he does. I love the analogy that he made about candy bars. I thought that was such a unique way to say it, and we all instantly know what that means. But, you know, I think that...
And he said, you know, and I was good at making candy bars. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like, it's like, you know...
But, Josh, he wants more out of life.
Yeah.
You know, he wants... I think it's what a lot of us are searching for. He wants to find the thing that really gives you your juice, that really makes you happy and satisfies you at the same time. And I think that he's finding that. I was very touched, though. He was very honest about how awkward he is around girls. In college, were you awkward around girls, Josh?
I was.
You were not.
No, I was.
You were not.
No, I'm kicking to the dirt right now.
You can't even look at me and say that with a straight face.
Shucks.
But I'm touched that he would share that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And that he's honest and open about that. Really, really sweet, really nice, really smart and talented.
It's interesting because he's talked about he was scared of screwing up his dream.
Yeah.
And I've often thought that, you know, when we hear artists, especially new artists, there's a part of us that wants them just to sort of put out familiar music over and over and over again. But when artists go on their own journeys, almost by definition, sometimes they're going to put out stuff that just disappoints us, but maybe it was good for them. Do you think he's still scared of screwing up the dream now?
I don't think he's scared of screwing up the dream, but I think you hit on something when you said they want to try something new. When you listen to this album, the album is really good. There's a couple of gospel-sounding songs on that. Only God knows, only God, and he writes all of his own music. So he does want to take some chances, but he wants to do things that he likes. Yeah. You know, he's not just doing it to satisfy an audience. Listen, don't get me wrong, he wants an audience, but he's writing for himself and things that make him happy. And I love the thing, too, about the one word that means something to you. And he picked the word afraid. Yeah. Afraid. I mean...
But, you know, I can dig it.
What would be your one word? It would not be afraid. I wouldn't pick afraid.
It would just be shucks.
No, mine would be happy. Mine would be growing.
Mine would be...
yeah, what would be your one word that means something to you?
Happiness.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we think about our children, don't we?
Yes, very much so.
And what we want for them.
Very much so.
And it's interesting because there was a childlike quality.
I thought so too.
To Mike.
Yes, because he's 28,
The eyes
29.
are still very big. They're wide.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of life.
May he never lose that either, that childlike enthusiasm about who he is and what he does.
Well, considering how much life it seems he's lived, it's nice to know he's still got a whole lot more to live.
And he loves Michigan and Detroit. I think that's nice. People are always beating up on Michigan, and Detroit in particular, but he loves it there. And his song, Buried in Detroit, he'll travel all around the world, but ultimately he wants to end up right back at home.
You've had just a great run of interviews of late. I can't thank you enough for being here to talk about it. And you know, I think it's the real mark of a piece like that. Makes you want to know more about the kid.
It's all alone. When he starts off the album, it says, "This album is best listened to at night and alone."
Fair.
And I did that.
Fair. Fair. You should never be alone. Gayle King should never be alone. Just saying. One man's opinion.